Hey guys, so today I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of the Bytespace platform so that we can have you building like a pro in no time. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to create new web agents, how to manage your account, and what all the different buttons and things on the Bytespace platform do. Now, first things first, you need to download the Chrome extension. Pretty easy. You just go to the Chrome web store and type in Bytespace AI, will be the first link, and then you'll be prompted with a button to download from Chrome. So once you click that button, the extension will appear here, and you can pin the extension and then open it. Once you open it, this button will say login. That's how you authenticate your account. And if you've already been approved off the waitlist, then you'll have access immediately. Now, I've already logged in, so we can jump straight into the builder. When you jump into the builder, you'll be greeted with a blank screen. And the button here in the top left is how you create your first web agent. Once you click plus, you'll be prompted to enter a name and a short description. This is super helpful for when you are deploying these agents to the marketplace and other people are using them, or you're creating a template out of them. It helps people understand what the web agent is all about and what the web agent will do. Now, I've already created a few test workflows, so I won't create one now. But the second button is Bytespace Web Agents. So here's where you'll see all the different web agents you've created. If you have a long list of agents, you can search for them by name. You can also come here and hit these three dots to start your web agents. Let's say you have certain web agents you're using very frequently, or there's certain ones you're working on currently. You can have them here. I will unstar that. And then you can also duplicate your workflow. You can rename it here, and then you can delete it from here as well. Now, jumping into settings, this is where you'll see your workflow logs. We'll go over logs a little bit later, but logs is where all of the data from your workflows are stored. So the different web agent steps, as well as the outputs, etc. And if you want to configure the logs to auto delete, let's say you have limited space on your computer, you can do that here and set a time interval and also a log limit as to how much logs you actually want to store. Cool. And now in the About section, you'll get a small description about Bytespace and all of our different social links. And then in My Account, you can see the email that you registered with. You can see which plan you're on, and you can also manage your subscription. So if you want to upgrade your plan to Pro, you would hit that button, and then you would find the upgrade path here. I've already upgraded to Pro. You can also cancel your subscription later from the same place. Cool. And then you'll see the AI credit usage down here. And next, we can jump into documentation. So if I click the documentation button, it's going to open up the Bytespace documentation in a new tab. You'll be greeted with a welcome message. You can go through the documentation step by step, but all you need to know is that if you click start here, you'll be prompted with all the steps to get your first web agent running in minutes. Now, if you go through this and then jump into the Bytespace or jump into build web agent, here's where you'll find all the tutorials that we're creating. We're going to create these tutorials progressively. The Twitter one is very easy. It just goes and posts a tweet. The YouTube one is a little bit more complex, and then we'll be releasing a hard tutorial for LinkedIn later that has a lot more steps, conditional data, more variables, like all of those kinds of things. Oh, and lastly, if there's anything that you're unsure about while you're using Bytespace, you can search in the search bar here. Let's say like you wanted to understand the click element block. So you would click that and it'll take you to the documentation for that specific block. So as you're building, if anything is confusing, you can try referencing the docs. The docs, of course, are still incomplete. We're working on them progressively. So if there's anything that's confusing, let us know, and we'll start to add more and more to the docs as we go. Amazing. So the next button is the community button. So here you'll see all of our different social links, as well as the link to join our Discord. Now, if you haven't joined the Discord, I would highly recommend it because that's the place where all the other builders are building and sharing what they're building. It has a showcase. So if there's anything cool that you build that you want to show other people and get feedback on, that would be the place to do it. It's also the place where you can come and talk to Andre and I, as well as Santino, one-on-one. And we can give you direct feedback or help you debug your automations. If you have any questions or if you find a bug, then we'd love to hear about it. Amazing. And then My Account just takes you to the same page, and I'll go over notifications in just a second. So now let's jump into a specific workflow. If I go to the YouTube channel links workflow, you can see the workflow title here. You can also see a abbreviated description. And then if you want to change the description of the workflow title, you would go up here, click the three dots, and then you would write out the description or the change in title. And then lastly, you can share your workflow from here as well. So let's say I want to share to car@bytespace.ai. I'll click share. And then that workflow will appear here. I'm not going to accept it because it's just going to duplicate this workflow on my page. But as soon as you click accept, it'll open up that workflow in your builder. Amazing. Now, let's go through these buttons. The deploy button is a button that is coming soon. So that's the button that you'll use once your web agent is ready for production and you want to deploy it to the marketplace and monetize it, or have other people use it. Maybe you want to give it away for free. Next, the run button takes you from the start to finish in the workflow. So when you hit the run button, it's going to start the workflow from the very beginning and go all the way through it. We can test it now with this workflow. So I click run, it's going to open up YouTube. And this specific automation is just going to YouTube, finding a channel link, and then scraping all the URLs from the channel. You can see it's found that. It's going to the element selector. Next, it's going to filter by channels. And then it will select the Bytespace channel. And now it's going to start looping through all of the different URLs here. So I clicked on videos, and now it's going to start looping through all the URLs for these videos. But since I've already run this before, and I know that it works, I can go to logs, and this is where you can stop a workflow. So let's say I want to stop this workflow midway. I can stop it that way. And it said there was an error saving the final workflow log because I stopped the workflow. Cool. Now, again, so this button, logs, is where you can see all the data about the workflow. The workflow that I ran earlier, or this one that I just stopped, you can see that it stopped at the loop breakpoint, which is right here. So it stopped at, or sorry, it is, yeah. So this is a loop breakpoint, and this is also a loop breakpoint, but it stopped at one of these loop breakpoints. And then I can also see the one I ran through successfully. So you can see all of that data here. If there are any errors in the workflow, or if one step doesn't work, you can find that in the logs. Additionally, you can see the data that you're collecting. So if I've collected specific data, I can see all the table data here, and you can filter by a larger number. We only have 10 videos, so it's only going to show 10. But if I had, scraped through 150 pieces of information, I could see all of them here, and then you can go through the different pages. And you can also see the variables. This workflow doesn't have any variables, but we can go through variables in just a bit. Amazing. And real quick, so with tables, this data, I'll show you where this data is being pulled from. So here, when you get to the video link, I assign this to a specific table, right? So I assigned it to the YouTube video link table, and this step is specifically getting the link of the video. And we'll go through the steps and how to create these blocks in just a second, but just so you know how you reference data, or how you add data to a table. You can also add new columns. So let's say you have a new block and you want to assign the data that block is collecting from into a different column within the table. This is where you would do that. Amazing. Now, lastly, let's go through inputs. So on inputs, you can see that there's a lot of different inputs that this can take in. This is variable data. So anything about a workflow that's going to change, that is something that the user would want to input. You can create those things here. So if it's a checkbox, like if you have if you're going through LinkedIn filters or something and you want to filter by different criteria, this is where you would assign those variables, and then you would give them a description. So let's say I want to create a new variable. If I want to create text area input. Text area input is similar to text input, but it gives you more space, so it changes the UI a bit. When you're entering and creating a variable, make sure that you don't add any spaces. So if I was doing, I don't know, the YouTube likes, so the likes on like videos or something like that, I would have that space like this. This would not work. So you would want a space like that. The title can have spaces, so it would be like YouTube likes, and then you would add a description about that. And once you click confirm, it will create this for you. Now, what this is super useful for is when you deploy these agents, this is the input fields that people will input when they're using your agents. So you want to give it a good title and a good description so that they can see how it'll look different on the actual deployed agent. It'll have a different UI, but basically it's going to be similar to this. Amazing. Now that we've understood that, let's go and jump into let's create our own workflow from scratch to scrape the data scrape the entire data from a website and then analyze what that website is about. So we'll use scrape full data from website. Scrape all the text content of a website and analyze what the website is about. Amazing. So here is, you get, again, start with a blank workflow. And then the first step is to open that website. In this case, there's a few ways to create the next step. You can either choose the blocks manually. And I know there's a lot of blocks here, so it can be a bit overwhelming. But basically, like if any of these blocks are confusing, you can jump into the documentation or ask. But it's not as complicated as it seems. Or if you're not creating it manually, you can enter it. You can enter an AI prompt to have it created for you. So in this case, I'll show you how the AI prompts work. Open www.bytespace in a different tab. Amazing. So now it's determining which block to use based on your prompt. So it's going to figure out that the new tab block is the one we're going to use, and then it'll pull up the website. So now on Bytespace's website, I want to scrape all of the data that exists throughout the website, right? So how would you do that? You'd go back here, and you could prompt it with AI and say scrape full page. You could prompt it with AI and say you want to scrape the full page text from the website that you're on. But I'll create this block manually so you can see how that would happen. So this is going to be a get text because we're going to get the text from the entire website. It's a get text block. And then when you jump in here, you have the AI instructions here. These instructions, even if you're creating the blocks manually, it's helpful to fill out these instructions because later on, if for whatever reason the AI can't figure out where on the website something is, or the selector changes or something, if the website changes their UI, then this is how the AI debugs itself. And that way you never have to maintain your automations. So I'll say, get the full page text of this website. And then you can select specific elements. So since this is a full page text, it's going to be a bit different. But if I wanted to select like, just this text, like I wanted to get this text, I could get the main page title, right? And I would put submit enter and it would appear here. Since this is the full page text, I'm going to type in body. This is how you get the full page's text. Basically, if you come here and if you right click and hit inspect, you can see here that if I go to the very top, there is the body class, right? So it's looking for this selector. And if I go over this, you can see that it's selecting the entire website. If I open this up, it's going to select different elements. Yeah, so this would select the full page text. And then I can verify the selector. So did it find the selector? And the verify selector worked. So if you come here, and now if I want to verify that my selector is correct, usually selectors have more information than just body. So like typing in, this isn't a text box where you type in what you want to do on the website. That goes here. This is the specific selector on the website. And in most cases, you're going to be able to pick it just by going through the website and saying, hey, I want to click on this, or I want to click on the about button. So even when you use other blocks like click element, for example, I'll just click on something just so you can see it. Like if I want to use the click element block, let's say, and I want to click on the about page. So I would come here. So I use the element selector. I would come here and I would click about. And you can see it's selected the element. I press enter and wow. Okay, so this is the specific selector for that button. Now, the enhance with AI button helps you to make sure that the selector you've chosen is the most reliable selector. On some websites, when you refresh the page or something like that, then on some websites, when you refresh the page, the selectors change slightly. So it gets difficult for the AI to figure out where exactly it's located. But if you enhance it with AI, and you can see that I got an error that says the AI debugger needs instructions. So the AI debugger, the enhance with AI doesn't work unless you actually type in instructions here so it knows exactly what you're trying to do. Click on the about page. Click on the about button to open the about page. And a good practice with prompts is to say, like, do XYZ action to get XYZ result so that it knows exactly what you're trying to do. Okay, so I click that. Now I can enhance this with AI. Okay, it's going to figure out the about button and it's enhancing it now. So this is the original selector. And okay, amazing. Now, if I go back, it says enhanced, and you can see that the selector changed. So it picked a different selector that's more reliable for that specific use case. Now, I'm not trying to get the about page for this specific one, so I'm going to X this out. But for the get full page text, I know that the selector body works for the entire page. If I click here, I verified the selector. Okay, so body works. So now I want to assign this to a variable, because now that I've gotten the full page text, I want to make sure I want to assign this to a variable so I can call it in another block. So I'll give the variable a name, full page text. And when you create variables, again, it's like inputs where you can't add spaces. So full page text, that is the variable. And I can test this block. Oh, and also this is how you test block. So if you come here and you hit the test button, this is the, you can either test blocks from in here and test that specific block, or you can come here and click this button on any block and it'll test that. Like if I click test open button, it'll open the website. Okay, so the open works. But since we're on this block, I've hit test. I can go into logs and see, okay, scrape full page data. It's not being inserted to a table. I can insert it to a table if I want to. Let's say I wanted to insert, I don't need to since I'm going to be adding it to an AI block later, but let's say I wanted to insert it to full page text. Yeah, so, okay, full page text. Now I'll test the block again. So it gets the full page text, and then I'll go back and I can go jump into logs, and you can see the last run was 3 seconds ago. If I click this, edit table columns, and look, so I got the entire data from the website, all the text. Now go back. Now I don't need this in a table specifically. What I want to do is get a summary of this information using AI. So I'm going to jump in, I'll hit the plus button and I'll create this block manually. So if I click the AI block, you can also search for it in the search bar. I'm going to use, you get a few different options. You can choose the different model that you're going to use. I'm going to use GPT-4o mini, and I'll type in, can you give me a summary of this website? Website content. Tell me what it's all about. Tell me what it's all about. Okay, and now I'm going to reference the website variable. So to reference a variable, like the variable we just created in the last step, you would put curly brackets and then type in variables. You can hit the down arrow key and click enter so it appears. Then you would type a period, and then you can see that the variable appears, full page text, what we just created. So I'll enter that, and then you close out the variable. Now the AI knows exactly what to input after these colons. It's going to be all the text that we just gathered. And now if you want to test the output of the AI block, let's say you're running it later. Now, if you want to test the output of the AI block, you can generate a response and it'll appear here. Amazing. So this website is for Bytespace, a platform designed to automate web tasks by creating web agents, etc., etc. And it gives you a full summary of the website. And then if I wanted to insert all of this into a column, let's say I wanted to add a new column, or actually I can just, if I want to add a new column, you can also create new columns from here. So I'll say website summary, add, and maybe I'll go back to this page and actually do insert it to a table. So I'll insert this to the full page just so we can see both pieces of data. And then lastly, we will close out. So a best practice for when you're done automating something is that you would want to close out the website. Otherwise, you're going to open a ton of different tabs in your browser. But the last thing is, okay, so close tab. Close the active tab. Okay, now if I test that block, it closes the tab. This was the old tab that we had open. Okay, amazing. And and then lastly, this button is a run from here button. So if you're working and you're testing a specific spot, you can hit this button, the plus button, and it'll run the workflow from this specific spot. But just keep in mind that if you run a workflow from a specific spot, you have to have that web page open on Chrome in the exact spot that you're testing from. So if you click the run from here button now, it won't work. It won't do anything. See, because the website isn't open that we're automating, and it says the extension gallery cannot be supported. So if I had the website open, like let's say let's just go to bytespace.ai, www.bytespace.ai. Oh, actually, okay, so now the Bytespace website is open. Now, if I click run from here, it's going to run the workflow just from that spot. And the workflow was executed successfully. So I could go through the logs and see, okay, it's done. And I got the full page text. It ran from the get text block, went to the AI block, and then I can see the table columns here. Okay, so it got all the text data, and then it gave me a summary, the AI summary, and it added both of those things to different columns. Amazing. Cool. And now, just for fun, we can run the automation from start to finish, just real quick. So it opens the website, it gets the page text, or it gets the full page text. And then it closes out the tab. Cool. So that's a high-level overview of the platform. I know it's a lot of buttons, but hopefully that was helpful. And I'm really excited to see what you build. If you build anything really cool, I would love if you shared it in the Discord so that other people can get inspired by what you're building. And feel free to message us. If there's anything you get stuck on, we're here to help. We want to make sure you guys succeed in building your automations. And yeah, jump into the start here and try to build your first web agent. Excited to see what you build.